Life has a funny way of coming full circle. 10 years ago, my parents threw me out of their house, calling me worthless. Now they're living in my house. Well, technically they're my tenants. But let me start from the beginning. I'm Rachel Anderson, and this is the story of how I went from being a useless disappointment to my parents' landlord. Growing up, I was never the daughter my parents wanted. Mom and Dad had it all planned out. I would become a doctor, marry a rich husband, and give them bragging rights at their country club. Instead, I was more interested in computers and real estate investment blogs than medical school and dating. "You're wasting your time with those silly internet things," Mom would say, dismissing my passion for technology and business. Dad was worse. "No man wants to marry a woman who talks about mortgage rates and coding," he'd lecture. "Focus on something practical." The irony of calling medical school more practical than technology in the 21st century wasn't lost on me. But I kept my mouth shut and continued learning in secret. Everything came to a head during my senior year of college. I was double majoring in computer science and business administration, maintaining a perfect GPA while secretly working as a freelance web developer. I had already made $50,000 from my coding jobs, carefully saved in a private bank account. Then came the acceptance letter. Not to medical school, but to a prestigious tech startup accelerator program. The catch: I had to drop out of college for a year to participate. Absolutely not. Dad roared when I told them over dinner. "No daughter of mine is dropping out of college for some computer fantasy." "But Dad, this is a huge opportunity. The program has a 90% success rate for launching sustainable businesses." "Success at what?" Mom sneered. "Making websites? That's not a real career." I tried explaining about tech startups, venture capital, and the digital economy. But they weren't listening. "Get out, you're useless," they screamed together. "If you choose this path, don't expect any support from us." That night, I packed my bags while they slept. On my way out, I overheard them talking in their room. "She'll come crawling back when she realizes how hard the real world is," Dad said confidently. "And that dream house in Maple Grove we've been saving for?" Mom added, "She'll never set foot in it once we buy it. Ungrateful children don't deserve luxury." Ah yes, the dream house. They'd been talking about it for years. A magnificent colonial in Maple Grove, the most exclusive neighborhood in town. They'd been saving for the down payment, certain that Dad's upcoming partnership at his law firm would make it possible. Little did they know their perfect plan was about to unravel. I moved in with my best friend Sarah and threw myself into the accelerator program. My app idea was simple but powerful, a platform that helped small businesses automate their customer service using AI. Within 6 months, we had our first round of funding, $2 million. Mom and Dad tried calling when they saw my empty room, but I didn't answer. Let them think I was struggling. I had work to do. The next 3 years were a blur of coding, meetings, and growth. My company, ServiceSmart AI, expanded rapidly. We went through 2 more funding rounds, and by year 4, we were valued at $50 million. I owned 60% of the company. Meanwhile, I kept tabs on my parents through family friends. Dad didn't get the partnership he expected. The firm merged with a larger one and eliminated several senior positions. Mom's social standing at the country club took a hit when they had to downsize their membership. And their dream house in Maple Grove? It came on the market right when their finances were at their lowest point. I bought it through a shell company paying cash. $2.8 million, a bargain for what it represented. Then I waited. Life continued to humble my parents. Dad had to take a position at a smaller firm. Mom's designer clothes shopping sprees became distant memories. They were forced to sell their house and move into a rental that barely met their standards. That's when they heard about a rental opportunity in Maple Grove. "The Anderson family is interested in the colonial," my property manager informed me. "They've submitted an application." I smiled. "Set up a meeting." 10 years to the day after they kicked me out, my parents walked into the real estate office, dressed in their best remaining clothes, trying to look like they still belonged in Maple Grove. "Mr. and Mrs. Anderson," my property manager greeted them. "The owner has reviewed your application and would like to meet you personally." They preened at this special treatment. I waited until they were seated in the conference room before making my entrance. The look on their faces was worth every penny of that $2.8 million. "Hello, Mom." "Dad. Lovely to see you again." Dad nearly fainted. Mom's carefully applied makeup couldn't hide her shock. "Rachel," she whispered. You own this house?" Among others, I said casually, placing a thick contract on the table. I hear you're interested in becoming my tenants. This is impossible, Dad sputtered. You were nothing. You left with nothing. Correction, I left with an education you didn't value, skills you dismissed, and determination you couldn't break. I opened the contract. Now, shall we discuss the terms of your lease? Mom found her voice. We're your parents. You can't treat us like what? Like someone useless? Someone who doesn't deserve luxury. I quoted their words from that night back to them. The monthly rent is $8,500. First, last, and security deposit required up front. No pets, no modifications to the property without written permission, and no expectations of special treatment due to family connections. Dad's face was purple with rage and humiliation. This is how you repay us for raising you. No, this is me offering you a business opportunity. You wanted me to be practical? Here's practical. You need a place to live that meets your social standards. I have one available. The fact that it's your dream house? Let's call that poetic justice. They tried negotiating, of course. Asked for family discounts, special considerations, even tried guilt-tripping me about respecting one's parents. The same respect you showed me 10 years ago? I asked mildly. Sign the lease or don't. There are other interested parties. They signed. The next year was interesting, to say the least. Every month, they had to write a check to their useless daughter. Every modification request had to go through me. When Mom tried to tell her country club friends she owned the house, my property manager quietly corrected the record. But the real satisfaction came during their first Christmas in my house. They invited the whole family, hoping to salvage their social status. I attended. After all, I had a right to inspect my property. Rachel, my aunt gushed. This house is gorgeous. You must be so proud of your parents for affording such a place. I smiled sweetly. Actually, I own the house. Mom and Dad are my tenants. The silence was deafening. But how? My cousin stammered. Oh, you hadn't heard? My silly internet things turned into a $50 million tech company. ServiceSmart AI? That's mine. We're expanding into Europe next year. One by one, relatives cornered me to hear the full story. By dinner time, everyone knew how the daughter my parents kicked out had become their landlord. Dad couldn't eat. Mom excused herself to powder her nose and didn't return for an hour. After that, things changed. The monthly rent checks started arriving with stiff little notes. Hope you're well. Congratulations on the European expansion. Your mother misses you. I kept them all in a file labeled Return on Investment. A year into their lease, Dad swallowed his pride and asked to meet. We sat in my office, a penthouse suite downtown with a view of the city he once told me I'd never succeed in. I was wrong, he said finally. We were wrong. Seeing what you've built, what you've become. I'm sorry we didn't believe in you. Sorry you didn't believe in me, or sorry you have to write me rent checks? He flinched. Both, if I'm honest. But mostly I'm sorry we lost years with our daughter because we were too stubborn to see your potential. I studied him, older now, humbled, genuine remorse in his eyes. The lease is up for renewal next month, I said. I'm raising the rent to $9,500. His face fell. But, I continued, I'm willing to include a family dinner once a month in the terms. If you're interested. He looked up, hope flickering. Your mother would love that. I would love that. One condition. No more comments about my career choices, my love life, or my silly internet things. Never again, he promised. We started small, dinner once a month in there, my dining room. Mom learned to bite her tongue when I talked about coding. Dad actually asked questions about my business. Slowly, carefully, we rebuilt something resembling a relationship. Last month, Mom called in tears. One of her friends was losing her house to foreclosure. I know we have no right to ask, she said. But could you maybe look at her situation? You understand these things so much better than we ever did. Coming from her, it was practically a declaration of respect. I helped her friend restructure her debt and keep her house. Not because I had to, but because I could. Success, I've learned, tastes sweeter when seasoned with generosity. Dad pulled me aside at the next family dinner. You know, he said quietly, that medical career we wanted for you? You've probably helped more people through your company than you ever would have as a doctor. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was progress. They're still my tenants, still writing those monthly checks. But now they also attend my company's charity galas, proudly introducing me as our brilliant daughter, the CEO. Mom even started taking coding classes at the community center. Just to understand your world better, dear. The dream house they once planned to bar me from has become a symbol of something none of us expected. Redemption. Not just mine, but there's two. Every room that once represented their rejection now holds memories of reconciliation. Last week, I found an old photo album while inspecting the property. And it was a picture of teenage me, hunched over a computer while my parents looked on disapprovingly. I had it framed and hung it in their living room. My living room, with a small plaque. Dreams come true in unexpected ways. Mom actually laughed when she saw it. We were such fools, she said, touching the frame gently. But at least we're paying for it now. $9,500 a month worth of foolishness. Plus utilities, I reminded her with a smile. Yesterday, a letter arrived from Dad. Inside was their rent check and a newspaper clipping about ServiceSmart AI's latest acquisition. He'd circled my quote about the importance of believing in yourself when others don't. His note read, "You proved us wrong in the best possible way. Love, your proudest tenant." I added it to my return on investment file, right next to the contract they signed 10 years ago. Some investments pay off in ways money can't measure. They've asked about buying the house, so it can stay in the family, Mom says. I told them I'll consider it when they retire. After all, what kind of daughter would I be if I didn't look after my parents in their golden years? Just call it a long-term lease on redemption.